Now, the number one way to keep your garage cooler is, and you're not gonna believe this, here are 10 things you can do to keep your garage cooler this summer. So number one is, if you're just looking at increasing ventilation, one of the easiest things you can do is just to open up your garage door. Now, some of the problems with this though is you could introduce some other things into your garage that you might not want, like such as bugs or rodents or pests or neighbors. So the one way you can deal with this is they actually make a screen-based garage door screen that you can install in your garage. This will help keep the door open, let all that fresh air in, but also keep out all the pests that you don't want in your garage as well. Another thing you can do to increase ventilation is to use some fans. Now, you can either use some box fans that you can get cheaply at the hardware store, or you can get some other fans that are a little bit better suited to be used in your garage, like this fan that I installed here. I used the wall-based mount to install this closer to the ceiling and then blow air down, so that way it could go over any obstacles that I had in the garage. And also, I hooked this up to one of my smart plugs so I could turn this on and off easily by just using my phone. Another thing you can install is a garage vent. Now, these can be used either in the ceiling of your garage, they can be installed there, or they can be installed in the top of your garage door, depending on what model you go with. The advantage of these is it's going to help evacuate that hot air that's building up at the top of your garage, so it'll help make your garage a more comfortable environment to work in. If simple ventilation is not going to cut it for you, then this is the section for you. All right, so first, before we talk about your other options, you want to make sure that you have your garage properly insulated, and that means making sure that your garage door is insulated, because you're going to have a lot of heat transfer through your garage door if you don't have any kind of insulation there. You also want to make sure you have proper weather stripping installed around the door, because with these options, you want to make sure your ventilation and your air transfer is as minimal as possible. If you have a window in your garage, you have a couple different options. One, you can install a window-based AC unit. That's going to keep your garage nice and cool. The other option you have is to use a portable air conditioner, and that's going to need that window as well to evacuate the hot air to the outside while it cools down the air on the inside. Now, if you don't have a window in your garage, that's okay too. We have a couple different options still. One, you can use an evaporative cooler, and this is also called a swamp cooler. Basically what this does is it uses a fan and it uses water to help absorb that hot air in your garage, and that's going to cool that space down for you. These work pretty well in dry environments, but if you live in a humid environment, it's not going to be the best fit for you. If you live in a more humid area, you can always put a dehumidifier in the garage. That's going to help reduce the stickiness feeling in the garage air, and if you combine that with a fan, it's going to give you a little bit extra ventilation too. It's going to make it a lot more comfortable to work in your garage if you have these two things in place. And my personal favorite for cooling down a garage is to use something called a mini split. Now, a mini split unit is a great option, especially if you're okay with doing some DIY stuff yourself, because you can install this into your wall. You're going to have a permanent solution to help keep your garage cooler, and you're going to have additional flexibility than any of these other options that I talked about in this video. One of the big reasons for this is because a mini split can help heat up your space as well. So if you find yourself spending a lot of time in the garage when it's hot and when it's cold in the wintertime, and you want something to just make your garage more enjoyable and a lot easier to work in, then a mini split is honestly your best option, and it's really the way to go. Now, the number one thing to keep your garage cooler is, and you're not going to believe this, but it's to simply keep your garage cleaner. Now, this makes sense if you think about it. Basically, if you have a lot of stuff in the way and you're trying to ventilate your garage space, it's going to prevent a lot of that airflow, and it's going to make that space a lot hotter. So by simply keeping your garage organized in that space, you're going to be able to maximize the amount of airflow in the garage, and it's going to give you a more comfortable environment to work in. All right, those are the top 10 things. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.